The sharp ring of the doorbell cut right through the calm of my usually peaceful apartment, yanking me away from the soft, flickering light of the TV. I shot a look at the clock, 11 o'clock at night. Who the hell would show up this late? With a heavy sigh, I forced myself off the couch, my heart thumping with a weird mix of anxiety and curiosity. When I swung the door open, there was Helen, standing in the hallway. She looked pale as a ghost, her eyes rimmed red like she'd been crying for hours. For a split second, it felt like the world just stopped spinning. I hadn't laid eyes on her in 2 years, but seeing her now brought back a tidal wave of memories, some sweet, some I'd rather forget. My stomach twisted into knots, dragging me right back to the night that turned my whole life upside down. "What are you doing here?" I asked, my words coming out colder than I meant, but I couldn't help it, the weight of our past was pressing down on me. She paused for a moment, then stepped inside, her whole vibe a strange mix of regret and stubborn resolve. "I need to talk to you," she managed, her voice trembling. I shut the door behind her, the sound echoing through the room like a judge's gavel. She perched on the very edge of the couch, and I just stood there, lost in my own head, spiraling back to that night everything fell apart. It had started out like any other evening. I'd come home after a long, exhausting day at work, just wanting to relax, but there she was, dressed to kill, something about it just set me off. "Helen, where are you headed?" I asked, my voice tight as I took in her outfit. "I'm going to a party with Lucas," she said, barely glancing up from her phone. Lucas. Just hearing his name made my blood boil. "You know how I feel about that guy. This isn't just some harmless night out, Helen." She just rolled her eyes, brushing off my worries. "It's only a party. You're making a big deal out of nothing." My chest tightened, a storm of hurt and panic brewing inside me. "If you walk out that door tonight, don't bother coming back. I mean it, this is your last shot." But she left anyway, slamming the door behind her. It felt like she'd stabbed me right in the heart. Later that night, the phone rang, slicing through the silence. It was Sasha, Helen's best friend. "Hey, James," she said, her voice dripping with sarcasm, her laughter echoing in my ear. "Helen's out with a real man tonight." "Where is she?" I snapped, my stomach churning. "Listen up," she said, and I could hear the chaos of a party in the background. I gripped the phone tighter as Helen's voice drifted through, mixed with laughter and sounds I didn't want to imagine. My head spun with anger and confusion. I couldn't take it anymore. I grabbed a bag, drained our joint accounts, quit my job on the spot, and just drove off into the night, leaving everything I knew behind. As I sped down those dark roads, headlights cutting through the black, the reality of what I'd done started to sink in. I thought about all the dreams we'd built together, all the plans that had just unraveled in an instant. But as the miles rolled by, a strange sense of relief crept in, tangled up with the sting of betrayal. 2 years went by. I thought I'd buried that night, shoved all the pain and memories deep down. I found a new place to start over in Eagle's Nest, Colorado, where the mountains stood tall and the air was sharp and clean. I told myself I was finally free, but Helen's memory haunted me like a ghost I couldn't shake. And then, out of nowhere, she was back, standing at my door. I was floored, angry, and totally thrown off. "How did you even find me?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. "Private investigator," she admitted, her voice low and serious. "I've been searching for you for months. Please, just let me explain." Tears welled up in her eyes as she started to tell me what happened that night at Sasha's party, how she'd been drugged, how everything blurred together until she didn't know what was happening. "I thought I was with you," she whispered, her voice cracking. "I never wanted any of it. I never meant to hurt you." A wave of sympathy hit me, but it was quickly drowned out by the bitterness I'd been carrying for so long. "You really think that makes it okay? You made the choice to go to that party. You threw away everything we had." Helen looked like she was about to protest, but I stopped her with a raised hand. You walked out. You picked them over me. Honestly, I don't even recognize you anymore. The silence that followed was thick enough to choke on, heavy with all the things we weren't saying and the memories we both carried. Helen stared down at the floor, her fingers nervously twisting together in her lap. I noticed her hands shaking, saw how hard she was fighting against her own regret. But no matter how much I wanted to feel sorry for her, the anger inside me still burned, stubborn and hot. "James," she finally whispered, her voice so soft I almost missed it. I was scared. I didn't know what else to do. "Scared?" I shot back, disbelief clear in my voice. "You really think that excuse is what you did? I warned you, and you still put yourself in that situation." She lifted her head, her eyes searching mine, desperate. "I thought I was just making a choice for myself. I figured I could have a little fun, that it wouldn't mess with us. I never imagined it would end up like that. Did you ever stop to think that your actions might have consequences? You left me that night, Helen. You walked out without a second thought about what it would do to us." Her shoulders slumped, like my words were physically weighing her down. "I know. I know I screwed up. I was naive. Sasha kept telling me it was just a party, and I believed her." Her voice faded, and I could see the regret and uncertainty flicker across her face. Right then, all the old memories came rushing back, our fights, her stubbornness, the way she always brushed off my worries. The night she left felt like the end of everything, like our marriage had died right there. I couldn't get the image of her walking away out of my head, the sound of the door closing still echoing in my mind. "After you left, Sasha called me," I said, my voice steadier as I remembered the moment that sealed my decision. "She mocked me, made it clear you were with Lucas, that you'd chosen them over me. I could hear you laughing, having a good time, while I sat there alone, wondering what I'd done to deserve it." Helen flinched, like my words had actually struck her. "That was never what I wanted, James. Hurting you was never part of the plan. But you did hurt me. You let it happen. You threw away everything we'd built for one wild night. That was your decision." The room felt even heavier, the air thick with everything we hadn't dealt with. I could sense a storm brewing inside her, a mix of anger and sadness, but I stood my ground. I never wanted this confrontation, but now that it was here, I wasn't about to back down. "Do you have any idea what it feels like to be betrayed by the person you love most?" I asked, my voice low and steady. "To have your whole world flipped upside down by a choice you never saw coming?" Tears welled up in Helen's eyes, and she started to speak, but I cut her off again. Don't say anything unless it's going to change what happened. You left. You chose that life. I had no idea what was going to happen," she pleaded, her voice breaking. "I didn't know I'd be drugged. I didn't know they'd do that to me." Her desperation was written all over her face. "James, I was manipulated. Sasha set me up, and I didn't realize it until it was too late. That hit me like a punch to the gut. It was heartbreaking, sure, but it didn't erase what had happened. You think I don't care? I do. But your choices brought us here. I honestly don't know if I'll ever be able to forgive you for what you did to us." The tension in the room was almost unbearable, hanging there like a song that never resolves. I could see Helen's fight fading, her spirit crumbling under the weight of it all. She looked nothing like the determined woman who'd shown up at my door just a little while ago. "I took Sasha and Lucas to court," she said quietly, her voice shaking. "I won. That's how I got the money to track you down. I thought, maybe if I could just tell you everything, we might have a shot at starting over." Her words just hung there, heavy as bricks. "You really think winning a lawsuit can undo all the damage, that it can somehow bring back everything we lost? Life doesn't work like that, Helen." A single tear slipped down her cheek, and she wiped it away fast, like she could just erase the pain if she moved quickly enough. "I want to make this right. I want you to see how sorry I am, James. Sorry isn't enough, I told her, my voice edged with bitterness I couldn't hide. It doesn't change the fact that you broke my trust, that you turned your back on our marriage just to chase a night of escape. I watched her wrestle with the truth of what I was saying, and for the first time, I could see just how much she regretted it all. It didn't make me soften, not really, but it did stir up something deep inside me, a faint echo of the love I used to feel for her. Helen, listen to me, I said, my tone gentler but still steady. You broke my heart when you walked out that door. No matter how awful things got for you after, it was your decision that ended us. She drew in a shaky breath, my words settling between us like a thick fog. James, please. I can't lose you again. I've changed. I want to do better, to be better. But as she pleaded, I felt the truth settle in my bones. There was no going back for us. The wounds were too deep, the trust too far gone. What we had was just a memory now, a ghost that haunted the corners of my mind. I don't think you can fix this, I said quietly, feeling a strange mix of sadness and finality. You made your choice, Helen. Now we both have to live with what came after. Her words echoed around the room, filling the space with a desperate kind of hope. Her eyes were shining with tears, full of regret and longing, and for a second, it almost broke through my resolve. That's when Charlotte walked in, her confident stride faltering as she took in the scene. She looked from me to Helen, picking up on the tension right away. James, Helen said, her voice suddenly urgent, you don't get it. I was manipulated. I honestly thought I was with you that night. I never wanted any of this to happen. Charlotte's eyes darted between us, reading the room. What's going on here? She asked, her voice calm but edged with concern. Helen's trying to drag me back into the past, I answered, my heart pounding. But I can't just pretend none of it happened. You don't know everything, Helen insisted, stepping closer, her voice shaking. James, I've been through hell since that night. I didn't know they'd do that to me. I thought I was safe. I thought I was with you. Your choices brought you here, Helen, I shot back, my voice rising despite myself. You walked out on me. You picked that life over what we had. I can't just look past that. The air in the room was electric, every word crackling with tension. I could feel Charlotte's unease beside me, her hand finding mine and squeezing tight as Helen's desperation started to turn into anger. I was so naive. I thought I could handle it, Helen cried, her voice breaking apart. I didn't realize how deep I was getting pulled into Sasha's mess. Sasha, I repeated, shaking my head in disbelief. You knew what you were getting into when you went to that party. This isn't just about you anymore, Helen. Charlotte stepped forward, her protective side coming out strong. Helen, you can't just rewrite what happened. James has moved on. You need to accept that. Helen's eyes went wide, like she was just now realizing the truth. But I've changed. I want to be better. I thought maybe we could start over, rebuild what we lost. Suddenly, Charlotte's whole demeanor shifted, her voice firmer than ever. James has a new life now. You can't just show up and expect him to forget all the pain you caused. Helen's face twisted, caught somewhere between anger and heartbreak. I didn't choose any of this. You don't understand what I went through. I thought I was with you, James. I was lost. The desperation in Helen's voice hit something deep inside me, a little spark of empathy tried to break through, but it didn't stand a chance against the flood of bitter memories. The pain of her betrayal was just too much. I can't let that go, I told her, my voice calm even though I felt like a storm was raging inside. You made your choice to leave, and you've got to live with what that means. The room felt like it was closing in on us, the tension so thick you could almost reach out and touch it. For a long moment, none of us said a word. All the history between us, all the things we'd been through, just hung there in the air. I could feel the gap between us, a canyon carved out by every decision, every wrong turn. No matter how much Helen wanted to bridge that distance, it was just too wide. She started to cry, tears streaming down her face, but I stood my ground. My heart felt heavy, but I knew I was doing what I had to. It's time to let go, Helen. We both need to move on with our lives. As soon as I said it, I saw the last bit of hope drain from her eyes. She finally understood that there was no going back, no fixing what was broken. The truth was out in the open, and there was no more pretending. The door to any kind of reconciliation had slammed shut, and all that was left was the aftermath, two people changed forever by the choices they'd made. When Helen finally left, the silence she left behind was almost deafening. It was such a stark contrast to the whirlwind of emotions that had just filled the room. I leaned back against the door after she was gone, my heart pounding as I tried to process everything that had just happened. I dreaded this confrontation for so long, and now that it was over, I felt this strange mix of emptiness and relief. Charlotte came over to me, her voice soft and full of concern. "James, are you sure you're all right?" I nodded, even though the ache in my chest was still there. "It's just hard to believe it's really over. I thought I was ready for this, but seeing her again brought everything back." She reached out and took my hand, her grip warm and reassuring. "You did what you needed to do. You faced her, and you stood your ground. That takes real strength." I was grateful for her support, but the shadows of the past still lingered. I just wish things could have turned out differently. I never wanted our marriage to end the way it did. Charlotte squeezed my hand, her voice gentle. "I know, but you can't change what's already happened. All you can do now is look ahead." We sat together in a comfortable silence, but my mind kept drifting back to happier days, back when Helen and I used to laugh together, when we made plans for a future that never happened. Those memories felt like echoes from another life. The next few days went by in a blur. I tried to keep myself busy with work and little projects, but Helen's face kept popping into my thoughts. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the pain in her eyes, the tears on her cheeks as she walked out. It was a reminder of how deep the hurt went, but also of the love that had once been there. One evening, I was sitting on the couch with Charlotte, feeling the weight of the past settle over me like a heavy blanket. She must have sensed it, because she leaned in close, resting her head on my shoulder. "You doing okay?" she asked quietly. "I'm just thinking about everything," I admitted. "About Helen, and all the what-ifs." Charlotte sat up a little, her voice steady and strong. "You can't keep carrying that around, James. You've been through enough. It's time to let it go." I took a deep breath, letting her words sink in. "I know. I want to move on. I want to be free of all this." She looked me in the eye, her expression full of hope. "Then let's do it together. We can make new memories, start fresh. You don't have to do this alone." Her support gave me the strength I needed. I realized I was finally ready to look forward instead of back. Days turned into weeks, and little by little, the memories of Helen started to fade. I found happiness in the small things, laughing with Charlotte, hiking through the beautiful Colorado mountains, dreaming about the future we could build together. The regrets and pain of the past slowly loosened their grip on me. Then, one afternoon, just as Charlotte and I were getting ready to head out for a hike, my phone buzzed. I glanced down and saw a message from Helen. My heart skipped a beat as I opened it, not sure what I was about to find. Helen's message was short, but it hit me right in the chest. She wrote, "James, I just wanted to say thank you. I know I messed everything up, and I'm not asking for forgiveness. I just wanted you to know I'm starting over too. I hope you find happiness. Goodbye." Reading her words, I felt a wave of emotions roll over me, sadness for what we'd lost, relief that it was finally over, and a strange sense of closure I didn't know I needed. I showed the message to Charlotte, and she squeezed my hand, her touch grounding me. "That's a good thing," she said softly. "It means she's ready to move on, just like you are." I nodded, feeling a weight I'd been carrying for years finally start to lift. "Yeah, it really does feel like a final goodbye." Day by day, I found myself looking forward instead of back. I threw myself into this new life with Charlotte, soaking up the beauty of Colorado and letting our relationship grow deeper. We laughed together, shared our worries, and made memories that felt real and untouched by the past. One night, we were sitting outside under a sky full of stars. Charlotte turned to me, her eyes shining. "You've come a long way, James. I'm proud of you." I smiled at her, feeling a warmth I hadn't felt in a long time. "Thanks, Charlotte. I honestly couldn't have done any of this without you." She grinned and nudged me. "Let's keep moving forward together, okay? No more looking back." I nodded, and for the first time, I felt a real sense of peace. I was finally ready to let go of everything that had weighed me down. As I looked up at the stars, I felt grateful for the pain I'd survived, for the strength I'd found, and for the new love that had come into my life. I realized I was free, really free, and open to whatever the future might bring. In that quiet moment, with Charlotte by my side, I knew this was the start of something good, a life where the past didn't hold me hostage anymore, and hope was finally within reach. The next morning, the apartment was filled with the smell of fresh coffee and eggs sizzling in the pan. Charlotte was humming to herself as she moved around the kitchen, her energy contagious. It felt like any other Saturday, but there was something special in the air, a sense of excitement that had me smiling as I flipped the eggs. "Ready for our hike?" Charlotte asked, her eyes bright with anticipation. "The weather's perfect, and I packed us a picnic." "Absolutely," I said, pouring us both a cup of coffee. "I've been looking forward to this. It's been too long since we had a day just for us." As we finished breakfast, I felt a calm settle over me. The memories of Helen were finally starting to fade, replaced by the warmth and connection I felt with Charlotte. This was a new chapter, and I was ready to step into it with both feet. We got our gear together and headed out into the Colorado sunshine, the mountains rising up in the distance. The air was crisp and fresh, filled with the sounds of birds and the gentle rustle of leaves. The gravel crunched under our boots as we made our way along the trail. "This place is amazing," Charlotte said, looking around in awe. "I can't believe we haven't explored it more." I grinned, feeling lucky to be right there with her. "I know. It's beautiful out here. I'm glad we're doing this together." We hiked deeper into the woods, our laughter echoing through the trees, every step making our bond a little stronger. When we reached a clearing, we stopped to take in the view, a stunning sweep of mountains and valleys, all bathed in golden sunlight. "This is the perfect spot for our picnic," Charlotte announced, spreading out the blanket she'd packed. We sat down and shared sandwiches, fruit, and stories, just enjoying each other's company. As I sat there, I couldn't help but think about how far I'd come. I'd faced heartbreak, dealt with the ghosts of my past, and come out the other side stronger. I'd learned what trust and love really meant, and now, I was finally ready to embrace a future full of hope and possibility. As I sat there, lost in the beauty of the mountains and the warmth of the afternoon sun, Charlotte's voice gently pulled me back to the present. "James," she said, her tone soft but serious, "can we talk about something?" My heart picked up a little. "Of course. What's on your mind?" She took a steadying breath, her eyes full of warmth and something deeper. "I want us to keep building this life together. You mean the world to me, and I can really see a future for us." A rush of emotion hit me, hope, excitement, and this deep sense of belonging. "I feel the same way, Charlotte. You've helped me heal in ways I never thought possible." Her whole face lit up with happiness. "Then let's make a promise to each other. No more looking back, just moving forward, together." I nodded, my heart swelling with gratitude and love. "I'm ready. Let's build something that's just ours, without any shadows from the past hanging over us." We packed up our picnic and started the hike back, and I noticed a new lightness in my step. The old weight of regret and sorrow had finally lifted, replaced by the promise of a fresh start. I wasn't the same man who'd been haunted by his past, I was someone who'd taken his life back, ready to see what the future held. That night, as we curled up on the couch, I turned to Charlotte with a smile. "Thank you for sticking with me. I know it hasn't always been easy." She just grinned and shrugged, her eyes playful. "You're worth it, James. Every bit of it." In that moment, I realized how far I'd come. I'd faced my past head-on and made it through to the other side, finally ready to embrace everything life had to offer. I felt whole again, no longer chained to the pain of betrayal. We cuddled together, watching the sunset paint the sky in brilliant colors, and I knew I was exactly where I was supposed to be. With Charlotte by my side, I was ready to start a new chapter, one filled with love, laughter, and the freedom to move forward. For the first time in ages, I felt a deep, lasting peace. The past was behind me, and the future stretched out ahead, full of hope and possibility. The weeks that followed felt like a dream. Every day, Charlotte and I grew closer, building a life out of shared adventures and simple joys. We explored the mountains, tried out new restaurants, and spent quiet evenings at home, just enjoying each other's company. Still, every now and then, I'd catch a shadow of my old life flickering at the edge of my mind. One bright afternoon, we were strolling through a local park when I spotted someone sitting alone on a bench. My heart skipped a beat as I realized it was Helen, her head bowed, lost in her own thoughts. A wave of emotions hit me all at once, confusion, sadness, and a little bit of anger. Charlotte noticed too and looked at me gently. "Do you want to go say hi?" she asked, reading the hesitation on my face. I took a deep breath, torn between wanting to leave the past alone and feeling like I needed to close that chapter for good. "Yeah, I think I should. I owe it to myself to face her one last time." She nodded, her support steady as ever. "I'll be right here if you need me. Take your time." I walked over to the bench, my heart pounding in my chest. Helen looked up as I approached, her eyes wide with surprise. "James," she said quietly, her voice uncertain. "Hey, Helen," I replied, doing my best to keep things calm. "Mind if I sit down?" She motioned for me to join her, her face a mix of nerves and hope. "I didn't expect to see you here." "Yeah, it's a beautiful day," I said, trying to keep things light. "How have you been holding up?" She let out a shaky breath, glancing down at her hands. "Just trying to find my way, honestly. It's been tough since everything that happened." I nodded, feeling the weight of her words. "I get it. Moving forward hasn't been easy for me either, but I'm getting there." Helen looked up, her eyes shining with unshed tears. "I'm really sorry for everything, James. I know I can't undo the past, but I've been working on myself. I just wanted to say a real apology." The honesty in Helen's voice hit me somewhere deep, but the sting of the past was still there, lingering just beneath the surface. "I appreciate you saying that, Helen, but you have to realize, your choices changed everything for me. That's not something I can just forget." She nodded, her voice trembling as she spoke. "I know. I'm not asking you to forgive me. I just wanted you to know I'm trying to be a better person. I don't want to keep living under the shadow of my mistakes." Her openness caught me off guard, and for a second, I felt a flicker of compassion for her. "You're on your own path now, and I really do hope you find some peace. But I've moved on, Helen. I can't go back to what we were." She wiped away a tear, her face softening with acceptance. "I get it. I just wanted you to know I still think about you. I regret how things ended between us." The weight of everything we'd been through hung in the air, a silent reminder of a love that had once burned bright but had faded away. "It was something special," I said quietly, "but sometimes even the best things fall apart." Helen nodded, her eyes full of sadness. "I wish I could change it all. I wish I could go back and do things differently." "I do too," I admitted, feeling the finality settle in. "But it's time for both of us to let go and move forward. You have to find your own way, Helen." She took a deep breath, and I could see her finally letting go. I know. I guess this is goodbye, then. I'll always care about you, James. And I'll always care about you too, I said, my heart heavy but at peace. But it's time for us to move on. I stood up, feeling a real sense of closure for the first time in years. The past wasn't a chain around my neck anymore, it was just a chapter in my story, one that had taught me a lot about life and love. Thank you for talking with me, Helen said, her voice barely more than a whisper. I hope you find all the happiness you deserve. I hope you do too, I replied, giving her a small nod before turning to head back toward Charlotte, who was waiting for me with a gentle smile. As I reached her, she looked at me with concern and warmth. How did it go? She asked softly. It felt good to finally say goodbye, I told her, feeling lighter than I had in a long, long time. We've both moved on, and that's how it should be. Charlotte squeezed my hand, her support steady and reassuring. I'm proud of you, James. You faced your past head-on. We walked away from the park together, and I felt the comfort of closure settle over me. I'd faced Helen one last time, and now both of us could step into the future without the weight of old regrets. In that moment, I knew I was finally ready to give my whole heart to the life I was building with Charlotte. Together, we'd make new memories, go on new adventures, and build a love that thrived in the open, free from the shadows of betrayal. As we walked hand in hand toward whatever was next, I felt a peace I hadn't known in years, a true goodbye to the past, and a warm welcome to the life ahead. The days rolled by, and autumn started to paint the world in gold and red. With every passing day, I felt more alive, more purposeful. Charlotte and I kept growing together, nurturing the bond we'd built out of the ashes of my old life. One evening, as the sun dipped low and the sky glowed orange, I found myself just sitting on our porch, watching the leaves swirl in the breeze. I felt a deep gratitude for the life I was living now, for the second chance I'd been given. Charlotte came out and settled beside me, her presence always comforting. What's on your mind? She asked, her voice soft and full of care. I glanced over at her, a smile tugging at my lips. Just thinking about how different things are now. I used to feel so weighed down by everything that happened. It's like the fog has finally lifted. She smiled back, her eyes shining in the fading light. I'm glad, James. You deserve to be happy. Thanks for being here with me, I said, my voice full of genuine gratitude. Honestly, I don't think I could have moved on if it wasn't for you. Charlotte squeezed my hand, our fingers lacing together. We're a team, James. That's what matters most. As the weeks rolled by, we started dreaming out loud about the future. We talked about all the places we wanted to see, the adventures we'd have, and even the idea of starting a family someday. Every conversation brought us closer, making our bond even stronger. One weekend, we decided to get away and head up to the mountains for a little camping trip, just the two of us, some fresh air, and the peace that only nature can bring. Setting up our tent, I could feel the excitement buzzing between us. I can't wait to see the stars tonight, Charlotte said, her eyes shining with anticipation. I've heard the night sky out here is unreal. You're in for a treat, I told her, feeling that same sense of wonder. There's nothing like being out here, away from all the city lights. It's like the universe just opens up. After a day spent hiking, laughing, and soaking in the beauty around us, we settled by the campfire. The flames danced and popped, casting a warm glow on our faces. We swapped stories, roasted marshmallows, and just enjoyed being together, the fire's warmth matching the feeling in my chest. As the stars started to appear, one by one, I felt this deep sense of peace settle over me. It was in moments like this that I really understood what it meant to start over. I'd faced my darkest days, and now I was living fully in the light of a new beginning. Charlotte leaned into me, her head resting on my shoulder. James, I'm so grateful for this, she whispered. For us, for this moment. Me too, I said, glancing up at the endless sky. I feel like I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. Sitting there, I realized just how much I'd changed. The scars from my past were still there, but they didn't control me anymore. Instead, they'd made me someone who truly valued love, trust, and the gift of a second chance. As the night grew deeper, Charlotte shifted and looked up at me, her eyes serious but gentle. "Can I ask you something?" she said quietly. "Of course," I replied, sensing this was important. "What do you see for us, down the road?" she asked, her gaze steady and searching. I took a moment, letting the question sink in. "I see a life full of adventure, laughter, and love. I want to build something real with you, Charlotte. I see us growing together, facing whatever comes our way, and maybe even starting a family when the time's right." Her eyes sparkled, and I could see how much it meant to her. "That sounds perfect, James. I want that too." I leaned in, feeling a wave of affection. "Then let's do it. Let's make that future together." Under that blanket of stars, with the night sky wrapping around us, I felt hope settle deep in my soul. I'd moved beyond the pain, found a new path, and discovered love again when I least expected it. With Charlotte by my side, I was ready for whatever the future held. The shadows of my past didn't haunt me anymore. Instead, I felt a new sense of purpose, excited to build a life that was truly mine. As the fire crackled softly beside us, I knew this was just the start, a brand new chapter, filled with love, adventure, and the promise of brighter days ahead.